The dirty little secret about a career in marketing isn't that half the industry is running on 40 milligram tablets of Adderall and whatever's left of the white monster they woke up next to. It's that most of the job is just collecting stuff, images, files, content. For an entry-level marketer, sometimes it feels like that's half the job. Organizing, tagging, curating, polishing things up into neat little packages that contain words and images and whatever Gary Vee told you to crush that week. And if you're lucky enough, have a big enough budget, and you're not being a little bitch, maybe you can present it to an audience that it doesn't completely bomb in front of, on a website, a slide deck, a social post, even just an internal report. But no matter what you're building, at some point you're going to need a logo. And that means either chasing them down from clients, digging through 6-year-old Google Drive photos with names like final_V3, or hunting for the smallest shred of plausible deniability for why you think you're justified in slapping the New York Times logo on your website for street cred. You probably shouldn't, but you're going to try anyway. And that's why you're here, and that's why I'm here for you. Whether you're a marketer putting together a pitch deck, a dev building out a client page, or just someone trying to make a spreadsheet look less depressing, we all need logos, and it's always been a pain to track them down, because no matter how many times you type New York Times logo SVG transparent PNG 4K high-res vector into Google image search at 3 a.m., sorry baby, Google ain't giving it to you. Well, this isn't 2010, and the way that rich black bleeds from those razor-thin serifs onto a crisp white canvas on a 5K studio display at full brightness, it's enough to make a manic depressive technical marketer cry into his fourth white monster, or believe in God. Either way, let's get started. Maybe that intro is a little bit dramatic, but I do find it funny how often I still reach for Google to find logos. Earlier, I wanted some high quality vector art to use in my next video to show some of the AI logos that we talk about, but I realized I didn't have any, and I definitely wasn't going to download them all one by one. So here we find ourselves. We'll jump into Claude Code, and you just have to make sure that you have the Playground plugin. So go to plugins, make sure you have, I believe it's the Claude plugins official. We have it enabled. Let's look at our MCP servers really quick. Won't be using ShadCN, Perplexity. I like to use Morph for quick find and replace and quick searches throughout the code base. Better Context is one that I've been using recently. It is kind of like a more curated version of something like Context 7, but I don't think we'll be using that for this, so I'll disable it. It seems like the more that I do these things, the more I realize how important it is to like lead the agent almost to the conclusion that you're trying to get it to, rather than just telling it what to do, like hinting and letting it come to its own conclusions almost. So I'm going to go Playground. Tell me about playgrounds. The idea is to have like a workbench where you can think through ideas with a live preview, and then Claude generates a prompt output that you can then feed back into Claude Code. It's like a prompt generation machine. It's like meta concepts on top of meta concepts. And with an IQ of like 4, I'm having a really hard time here. All right, so let's just build one. So I'm going to say, great, what if I want to build a playground where I can set criteria for logos that I want to download from the internet? You give me industries and categories that I can choose from in the playground, and then the prompt output would include instructions for Claude Code to use firecrawl to search the internet and find the highest quality possible SVG logos for each of the brands that you build a list for. So for example, in the playground, I would be able to say that I want to download all of the major national news company logos. The prompt would instruct Claude Code to use firecrawl to go find the highest quality logos, and there would be a prioritized waterfall. Look for an SVG or some other vector style logo first. If you can't find that, look for a very high quality PNG. If you can't find that, then either flag it for manual review or just download a low quality logo and categorize it differently. One of the most important parts of this playground output is going to be instructing Claude Code to make sure that the outputs are well structured and use logical naming patterns for both the file names and the folder names. Can you help me think through some other considerations before we actually write the playground prompt, please? All right, so Claude responded with a whole bunch of questions for us to answer. Obviously, it's a great idea. Okay, so it's asking about brand discovery versus brand selection, categories, pre-populate a list, then you add or remove. Okay, so it's thinking light years ahead of anything that we've considered as usual. File naming convention, yes. Quality waterfall. See, like 1,000 things you'd never think to even consider, which is all great, but a lot more advanced than we want to get for this, of course. So let's guide it to be a little bit more simple. All right, everything you've said looks great. However, I want to refine the focus a little bit. I want to make sure this is more simple. Let's begin with some high-level national news outlets just as a category. And then the second and actually most important category that we're going for here is AI industry logos. Think of Anthropic, Claude Code, Google Gemini, ChatGPT. Actually, I'm looking for some of the more obscure indie developer type logos and branding for things like BMAD, the development framework, and GSD, Get Shit Done, also a development framework. It's going to be critical that we get logos like that from GitHub. Another note is that we will be using the firecrawl CLI, which you have access to. So with that narrowed scope, please put together a plan and a final to-do list for the prompt that we will use to build the playground. All right, we got another round of feedback to go through. Okay, good call narrowing the scope. Here's the plan. National news, 15 major outlets. Yes. AI industry, 25 brands, mix of major plus indie. Yes. Okay, so it's sketching out the playground controls on the left panel. Category toggles, brand checklist per category, select all or none. See, a lot of this, I just want it to decide for me. I don't want to have to choose what category name or folder structure or anything like that. I just want those things to be built in and baked into this. Okay, so for a lot of the things like the category structure and the output settings, stuff like that, I don't want the option to choose those settings. I just want you to set them for me in whatever the best folder structure and naming convention is that you decide upon. We just need to stick with something and make it consistent. For the AI indie dev tools, it looks like the list may have some outdated tools, or at least not the most recent as of 2026. I want you to, before we finalize the plan here, just do a quick Google search or firecrawl and find what brands are most worth using at this point. A lot changes very quickly in the AI space. Maybe a lot of these are still relevant, but I would expect to see brands like OpenCode, maybe even frameworks like OpenSpec, GitHub's Spec Kit, even though that's a little bit outdated at this point. But do a review and just make sure that we have updated information out the gate. So again, with the idea of meta prompting, right now we're building a prompt that is going to build the prompt that builds the prompts. So again, the Claude Code Playground is a workspace that lets you generate prompts, and the prompts produce really high quality output from Claude Code. So it's worth it. And it's something that you can use over and over again. So instead of coming to Claude Code and saying, hey, download a logo for the New York Times or download the ChatGPT logo, we're going to build a playground that has all of those rules built into it so that it knows exactly what we're asking for, so that we can use the output that it generates from the playground and paste it back into Claude Code to get the best results possible. And of course, once we have these logos, we won't necessarily need to download them again, but we can easily update the playground to say, okay, now we want logos of, I don't know, grocery stores. Now we want logos of pet food companies. So you can extend and build upon the playground, and you don't have to like start from scratch every single time. You don't have to go through the same process of like begging Claude Code for the highest quality logo or make sure it's a vector or make sure to put it in this folder. You just come to the playground, tell it what you want, copy the prompt, paste it back into Claude Code. And if this works how I'm hoping it works, then you're off to the races and it will download all the logos that you need while you're busy doing something else. But it looks like it developed a little folder structure. So we got logos, national news, AI major, AI coding tools, AI frameworks. Okay, whatever. Kebab case. Yes, SVG, PNG, 1024 pixels plus. Okay, yes, that looks good. A little priority for the source waterfall. It's going to attach metadata to the logo. All right, we got our national news, AI major platforms, coding tools. All right, this looks good. We'll start here, I think. We got the left panel, category toggles, brand checklist. We can add a custom brand if we want. All right, yeah, this is a lot more basic. Hopefully this just works how we expect it to. So we'll go playground. Yes, please build. All right, so it only took it a couple minutes, but this is what it came up with. So we got our national news. We could select everything. We could select none of them. And then we got AI major platforms, just like it said in the plan. So that's all looking good. One thing I want to test is I like this guy. He's got a good YouTube channel, Indie Dev Dan, and he just put together a browser automation UI testing system called Bowser that I want to check out. And right now I want to see if we can get our system to grab this little logo right here. So paste Paste that there. Give it a little challenge. Sure, we'll call it an AI coding tool. Add brand. Okay, cool. So added it right here. All right, I realize I haven't even selected anything because I've been busy talking through it. So we got our AI coding tools. Let's just select all of these. And as you can see, it generated this prompt right here. And we'll just go through it real quickly. So download high quality logos for 15 brands across one category. Use the firecrawl CLI for all web searching and scraping. Do not use web fetch or web search. Create a directory structure. So it's going to create a logos folder. That looks good. For each brand below, find the highest quality logo available using this priority waterfall. Or one thing that I've been experimenting with these playgrounds is custom instructions like this firecrawl search thing that I've kind of led with on this project. In theory, you could have a toggle here that lists all of your different MCP servers, and you could toggle them off or on, and it would update the instructions just like we're seeing here. When we toggle these on and off, they update the prompt, which is awesome. We have our little preview right here. It's showing what the folder output structure will be. Didn't even realize that. It's pretty awesome. So if I copy this into Claude Code right now, it should end up giving us all of this, assuming the logos exist. So it looks like Claude went and did a bunch of research on each of these brands. And so it's preceding it with all of the actual URLs so that it can just hand the URLs off to firecrawl and be more efficient at grabbing all of these logos. File naming rules, kebab case, like we talked about. We got a nice little manifest. All right, let's give it a shot. So since this is just a Claude Code prompt, we could run it in any project, but we're just going to run it in the same project that we're in right now. I'm going to paste it in there. It looks like it already created the logos folder. This is what the folder structure looks like right now. We're in Operation Logo Extraction, and the playground is just this simple HTML file. It's using firecrawl to scrape. I'll be very interested to see the quality of the results that we get on the first pass. Sometimes you have to like fine tune it and tell it, okay, I know firecrawl can take screenshots, for instance. Did we have it take screenshots? Even though that's not exactly relevant in this case. Let's see, it looks like with the Bowser project, it's not finding a logo. It uses a hero image, not a logo. Flag it. I like that still. One of the follow-up instructions for the playground could be something like, if you can't find a logo in a GitHub project, just use the hero image of the GitHub project, since that's probably what we're looking for anyways. I'm going to update the instructions depending on what the results end up looking like here. Looks like not a lot of luck so far, or actually maybe. Let's open this in Finder and take a look and see what we're getting so far. One of the things that I should have done before authorizing the build of the playground would be to say, this plan looks great, but tell it that I'm not a developer, and ask it if firecrawl is even the right tool for this, or if there's something better. A lot of the time I'll go in with assumptions thinking that I know what the right tool is or what the right strategy is, when it's actually not, and there's probably a much better, much more efficient way of doing something. And Claude, being the dutiful servant that it is, just goes along with whatever you're saying. So it's often useful to play as dumb as you actually are in real life. If you're me, at least, like, I don't know most of these things, and the more that I pretend that I do, often I find the worse the results can be. Of course, that all just depends on how much you know about what you're doing. A lot of the time it just seems to come down to how, I don't know, how thoughtful you are, what the best ways are to have Claude challenge you and challenge your own assumptions rather than just agreeing with you. All right, 17 minutes in, 22,000 tokens at least, and 19 brands are processed supposedly. All right, not bad. Aside from it taking 17 minutes, almost 20 minutes to do all of that, which seems like way too long to me. Aside from that, the results look pretty good. Now let's give Claude Code some feedback on what we're seeing. One of the things for me is, it looks like some of the SVGs that it generates are like white on white. Another thing is, it looks like we're downloading multiple of the same brand, which is fine. Probably won't mention that for this. Okay, the results look good. However, a few things that I want to discuss are the fact that it took 17 minutes, almost 18 minutes to process and download the logos. It seems like way too long. I want you to challenge the idea that firecrawl is the best tool for this. Do some research on that. Figure out if there's a better, more efficient way of scraping these logos. If not, that's fine. But just make sure that we're not missing something obvious. Another issue that I want to raise is, are there more efficient methods of researching where the logos may be located and maybe creating subagents to do the research before we attempt to scrape the logos? Are there any efficiencies that we could make in that area, whether that's with simple subagents or Claude code agent teams? Could we add instructions to the playground output prompt that would increase the efficiency or speed at which this is completed for the next run? Can we add a check somewhere or a verification where we prefer a colored logo of some sort, but if a white on white logo is found, maybe we transform that locally so that it's actually visible? For the Bowser logo that was flagged, it says no dedicated logo found. GitHub repo uses a hero image. For that one, we should establish some kind of rule where if only a hero image is found on GitHub, we should just use that as like the final fallback. That's fine, and we should build that into the logic. Let me know what your thoughts are before we actually proceed to revise the playground. I'll just clear this out so it's ready for the next run that we do. All right, so here's the latest recommended updates. So firecrawl is the wrong tool for logo downloads. Shocking. The research is conclusive. Firecrawl adds. Yeah. Okay. Avoiding discovery altogether. Okay. Yep. Case in point. Subagents are the right call. Teams are overkill. If you're not aware of the difference between subagents and agent teams, subagents operate solo and then they report back to the orchestrator, which is who you communicate with on Claude Code. Agent teams are basically subagents that can communicate amongst themselves before they communicate back to the orchestrator. So it's the difference between siloed reasoning and collaborative reasoning. So it's recommending phase 1, spawn a research subagent. Phase 2, it agrees on white logo detection. Perfect. Hero images final fallback. Okay, perfect. Yes, please put together a final plan and to-do list before executing the changes. And then I put it in plan mode. Of course, I could have just said, yes, go ahead and make the changes. But it seems like when you do that, a lot of the time it just charges ahead without a plan and without a list of things that it needs to accomplish. And it is more inclined to not like do all the things that it said it was going to. Of course, my operating procedure on that is probably a little bit outdated, especially with Opus 4.6. I think it's gotten a lot better at just following its own plans without needing to create an official plan and an official to-do list. Things are changing all the time. So I don't know how necessary that is, but it still feels like I get better results if I do it that way. So even after I approve a rough plan, then I tell it to create a final plan and a final to-do list. And that's what it's doing right now. I'm sure somebody watching this will be like, wow, what a complete noob. Look at all those tokens he's burning. And you're probably absolutely right. So feel free to roast me mercilessly. I have plenty to learn. And just a reminder, this is updating the playground code itself. So we should be able to refresh this and see all the changes that it's making right here. And a lot of it probably won't even be visible in the UI. We'll just notice it in the generated prompt instructions that it puts out right here. While our playground is being updated, I want to show you this marketing war chest with several different playgrounds in it. One of them is a headline lab. I'll show you that right now. All right, so this is the headline laboratory. There are 1 billion headline generators in the world, but I feel like this one's a little bit more unique and advanced than anything I've seen. Let's just go through one. Legal services. We'll do Social Security, disability insurance. The headline goal, we'll just say lead capture. We'll try problem aware. So we set the awareness level. And then I want to see all 3 of these voices. We got Alex Hormozy, Dan Kennedy, Russell Brunson, read case evaluation. So we'll generate the prompt. Same concept as the other playground that we're working in right now. So it created this prompt for us. I need you to generate direct response headlines for marketing asset using the skill files. The unique part about this particular playground is that we call out these individual skills. So we have a skill for each voice. I'll just show you those. We've got the Hormozy voice, really well-researched descriptions of how these individuals talk and how they operate, which is going to translate into how the headline is generated. And then we have skills specifically for the industry and the niche. So right here, I'll jump into the project and paste the prompt in there. We're ready to execute on this plan for the logo extraction project. Here's the headline: Playground results. 70% of claims get denied. Most people refile alone and wait 2 years. A free case evaluation takes 10 minutes and tells you exactly what to fix. Been denied Social Security disability. Do not file until a specialist reviews your case for free. Solid Dan Kennedy style headline writing. What if the reason your disability claim got denied had nothing to do with your condition and everything to do with how it was filed? A little bit wordy, but I like it. Russell, good old Russell Brunson. This is for demonstration purposes only. Do not use the likeness of these individuals. So that's how the headline laboratory works. Let's refresh. See what we got. While I'm testing the playground before I run it, I'm going to say this is one of the outputs that I am seeing from the new project you just published. Does anything look out of place, or do we need to update or change anything before we run a production run? And then I'll paste the prompt. So it looks like there were some issues that it found, all of which I have no clue what it's talking about. But sounds good. Refresh. Let's just do national news and all of the major AI platforms. We'll just call that good. Copy. While this stuff is running, I will show you another playground that I built. So we have the headline lab, and then I'll show you this fun one. It's a landing page roaster. If you've ever watched the show Kill Tony, I don't recommend it because it's highly inappropriate. But the concept is there's a comedian that gets up and does like a 1-minute comedy bit, and then a panel of professional comedians just roasts them. So this landing page roast concept is the same as that. You give it your landing page, and then you have it judged by this panel of experts that eviscerate your page. The idea of this page is to capture leads. We'll see what our panel thinks of. So generate prompt. Let's copy that and we'll clear this out. Back to the logo extraction playground. Okay, cool. So 23 of 23 brands resolved. Looks encouraging. These are new and they're looking good. Okay, yeah, these look really good. National news. Okay, pretty impressive actually. Sweet. And they're all SVGs. All right, beautiful. This is what I'm talking about. Great results. Can you create a hook so that after we generate logos, it automatically opens all of the newly generated logos into a single preview? Oh, looks awesome. All right, we got our page roast results. So we got this Social Security disability page, and we're giving it a 5.7 out of 10. Open this on my phone. Headline and CTA are visible above the fold. The bad news, no way to convert until I've just a small novel's worth of content. Anyways, that's the landing page roast. We already got what we needed out of this playground project, which is awesome. Is it worth it? I don't know. Maybe, probably. It just depends, because I could come in here at any time and tell Claude Code, please add the major US dog food brands to the logo extraction playground. Just a random example. And it looks like it added them, so we'll refresh the page. Oh, there we go, pet brands. And I'll copy that, paste it in here, and we should have all these logos downloaded quickly. While the pet logo extraction is going, let's look at the third playground. So we got a landing page builder, same concept as the previous ones. We'll try Social Security disability insurance, and we can choose one of our voices. Let's go Dan Kennedy, capture leads. Sure, we'll try the Midnight Authority and free case evaluation, generate the prompt, see how this does. Looks like these dog food brands may be struggling a little bit, so it'll be interesting to see. Post download verification now, that's kind of cool. Looks like we've got a sub-agent reviewing everything. All 20 files verified, no HTML error pages, all real images. Let's see what logos we got. Okay, JPEG, ping, ping. Pretty freaking high quality for this industry. I would have expected something higher quality than that one. That looks good. That looks great. Surprised we don't have an SVG for this one. Okay, now we're getting into the SVGs. Amazing. Okay, here we go. The hook is properly set up. Here's the full picture. It should have fired during our extraction. Also, this should definitely be a project scoped hook, not a user scoped hook. It's little details like that that can derail an entire project or confuse the entire Claude Code ecosystem on your computer. I swear a lot of the time it will like set up hooks at the user level or add skills at the user level. So you'll have project skills that are now polluting your user global Claude Code context. So it's something that you have to keep an eye on. It seems to be an issue that I always run into. I want you to plan a comprehensive solution. Ensure that the hook fires properly the next time we run a logo extraction. Claude Code will just reflexively fix things quickly. Oh, there's an issue. I'll just put a Band-Aid over it rather than actually thinking about the foundational cause of what the issue was. So sometimes you have to badger it. And again, I'm saying this all as a non-programmer, just a certified slop coder. All right, let's take a look at the accident. If we're looking at the landing page itself, pretty freaking good for a one shot. Actually a lot better once you get past the hero section. Yeah, this is really good. If you were actually going to run this thing, obviously you just have to prompt through a few more iterations. Got a whole bunch of negative space here. So it all kind of just comes down to what you want to do with these playgrounds. Are you actually looking to run with something like this, or are you just kind of trying to get ideas for whatever project you're working on? Either way, amazing that you can steer it a lot better than you would be able to just having a regular conversation with Claude Code where you're starting from the ground up. You can start from a really solid footing with this huge prompt, and this is hardly optimized at all. Nick Sarayev did a video on Gemini 3.1. He had a really good prompt. Pretty amazing what you can do with these Claude Code playgrounds. So that's the landing page builder. Let's take a look at a couple more playgrounds. This is one that allows you to visualize a lead generation form. So we've got like multi-step. You can mess with the number of steps. If nothing else, this is a cool one to help you visualize what your lead generation form could look like, be able to really dial in what you wanted your lead form to look like. This is a prompt that will generate valid Survey.js lead form that you could just plug into any landing page and be off to the races. This was another one that was kind of a similar concept, but it visually brainstorm the way that you want the lead form logic to go in whatever form you're building. So we've got like SSDI basic. Are you currently working? Does a disability prevent you? No. That's the DQ path. You get the point. How much could you save with solar? How much are you overpaying on energy? You get an instant project estimate. So let's say roofing, home size under 1,000, small refresh, ASAP. Have you gotten any other quotes? No. So we have this calculator. You can kind of just see these things come together. So you have a little calculator, and then you pass on to something like the lead form, visualize the whole thing with this playground. Okay, please confirm one final time what should happen the next time I run a fresh batch of logo extractions in terms of what the hook should do in this project. Be concise, 3 sentences max. You run any command that downloads logos into the logos folder, the hook automatically checks if new image files appeared in the last 60 seconds. Awesome. Okay, let's test this thing. I'm going to exit. Please add the top 10 major candy companies in Germany to the logo extraction playground. So it looks like it added all of these companies. Never heard of any of them. Let's refresh. German candy. I'm not even going to pretend to pronounce any of these names, but we got our prompt, and now let's test it. And what should happen is that gallery should open up automatically at the end of this once it gets all of the logos. So we'll see if that hook worked. This is gorgeous. Hopefully you learned something new and kind of opened your eyes to what's possible with Claude Code Playgrounds plugin.